Quintin on how to avoid buying a stolen car.
These days, buying an unmolested used car is a bit like picking up spilt mercury with your bare hands. Apart from the usual worries about mileage, condition, price and previous owners, you're up against a Pandora's box of other, more sinister nasties. Your prospective purchase could be stolen, a rebuilt write-off, or owe thousands of pounds of unpaid finance. The risks are great and the legal protection scant, but you can go some way to making sure the car you buy isn't an ocean-going dud.
Which is where companies like HPI come in. For £25, they will check out the history of that second-hand car. Their database is the biggest of its type in the country. They hold records on over 20 million cars, 5 million on finance, 3.5 million insurance write-offs, and nearly 500,000 stolen cars. Former Roads and Traffic Minister Robert Key praised HPI for their frontline battle against car crime.
You simply ring up HPI, give them your registration or chassis number and, of course, your credit card number, and they'll run a check through all their databases. Instantly, they'll tell you if your car owes unpaid finance, has been in a smash and written off, has had a cherished number plate change, or the worst scenario, has been stolen. If you're lucky and you've picked a good 'un, it'll come up not recorded. HPI source their information from the DVLA, the police, finance and leasing organisations, plus a whole host of insurance companies. They try to keep the information as accurate as possible, but with so much data coming from so many different sources, there can be the occasional glitch.
Well, we go through a certain amount of validation processing our end when we receive the information. So if something is complete nonsense, or if a particular record is incomplete, we will actually reject it and send it back to the source and say, please, we need some more information. But to a large extent, we are very much reliant on the accuracy of the information that we are receiving.
Have you ever had anybody who's rung up about a car, got the information and then found it lacking? So have you ever had anybody who's gone home unhappy?
There have been circumstances, certainly, when people have checked and we have said that we have no record of information at this moment in time on that car. And subsequently, at some later point, has been found that there probably was an interest held by somebody in that vehicle, but we did not have the information at that point in time.
I researched the purchase of this car very carefully. I looked at every single Cosworth for sale within miles. My son had always wanted one, and he decided that he was in a position to be able to buy one and commissioned me to buy it. A dealer friend did an HPI check for me. Although I'd seen the original HPI check by Auto Care Car Sales, from whom I bought the car, but I just felt that I'd like to be absolutely certain, you never know, and it came out clear in all respects, i.e. theft, damage, whether there was anything owing on it, all those things were clear.
After owning the Cosy for a year, Mr. Harris tried to sell it and to his horror discovered that while he'd owned it, it had been logged on HPI's register as an insurance write-off.
We bought the car on the 30th of the 11th, 93. It was put on the register a matter of days after we bought the car, although it had been written off 3 years previously. HPI were very defensive. They didn't want really to discuss the matter. They said, if you read the back of our form, you'll see that we make no claims as to accuracy.
And if Mr. Harris wants to know how much his damaged, repaired Cosworth is now worth, the news is unfortunately bad. He can divide the market price by 2.
Well, we saw an Escort advertised, which was from a local dealer in Bristol, which we liked the price, we liked the vehicle. And prior to purchasing it, we thought it would be advisable to have an HPI check done, which subsequently came back and everything was clean. We then went ahead and purchased the vehicle and kept it for a number of months. It was only really when we were approached by a local dealer, Lex Peugeot, to upgrade because they had some nearly new vehicles at very knockdown prices, we decided to change it. It was my wife's vehicle. Subsequently, through the negotiation, we found that the vehicle was in fact registered on HPI as actually a stolen and recovered vehicle, and it subsequently transpired that it was also damaged beyond economic repair, so in effect it was a write-off. So the value of the car was significantly less than what we'd anticipated.
Now, as it happened, this data was not actually introduced into our system for our motor dealer subscribers until October. So in fact, At any point up to October 1994, we would not have had access to insurer theft information. We would obviously have been very much reliant on the police information, and certainly it is the only source of information up till October that we would have quoted as supplying us with stolen vehicle data.
So insurance companies are being very guarded about who they make their information available to. Even the trade have only had access since last October. So Mr. Swan could never have found out about his damage-repaired Escort. What's good for the trade and the insurance companies isn't so good for the public. But who protects the consumer? Well, the Finance and Leasing Association are working with Michael Stephen, MP for Shoreham, on a private members' bill to make the release of information compulsory.
The consumer, as far as we're aware, according to statistics, faces 1 in 3 chance of buying a used car with a hidden history. Now, based on the value, source and scale of used car sales, this could translate into losses for the consumer of £1.3 billion per annum. This is something on a tremendous scale, and this must be solved.
One problem is that the insurance companies aren't in any hurry to tell everybody that a written-off vehicle is clinically dead. They claw back some of the money paid out to policyholders by selling the twisted remains of the written-off car to traders to be rebuilt. Selling and repairing salvage is a flourishing business. There's plenty of money involved. But one insurance company, AGF, are trying to make sure everybody knows about the cars they've had to write off.
When a vehicle is declared a total loss, it is brought to one of the members' yards. There, the reusable parts are dismantled from it. Once the parts have been taken off, the remains of the vehicle are then put into a crusher and crushed beyond all recognition. They then issue what's called a certificate of destruction, and that certificate of destruction is sent along with the vehicle registration document to the DVLA in Swansea, where the identity of that vehicle is frozen for all time. In this fashion, we are eliminating the opportunity for the ringing of vehicles, and we believe that it is the insurance industry's responsibility to ensure that the public are protected, and this, as we see it, is the best way of doing it.
But a well-meaning private members' bill, an initiative from one insurance company, add up to a single raindrop echoing in an ocean. Alone, they're not going to stem the tide of bent motors going back onto our roads. And according to the DVLA, 500,000 cars are written off every year, a tidy proportion of which get rebuilt and resold. So, as you sit in a traffic jam watching all those motors ebb past, think on this, that HPI estimates that 1 in 3 of this lot is in some way dodgy, yet the government is still just content to sit on their hands.
We'd like to see the current system given a serious overhaul. As soon as an insurance company finishes the paperwork on a write-off or a stolen car, we want to see that information passed to the appropriate body within 24 hours. No excuses and no delays, and by law. We'd also like to see Whitehall actually start to do something about this serious problem, like open access to a computerized database of all the dodgy, the bent, the stolen cars in this country. Protection for well-intentioned private purchasers. But don't hold your breath, because it could be a long time coming. In the meantime, while HPI might be the best service we have, it isn't, repeat, isn't infallible. So, if you don't want to end up buying something that really belongs in a skip, your only defense is to talk to the previous owner before you buy. Get his or her name from the registration document, ring them up and ask them some ticklish questions, like, has the car ever been badly damaged? Has it ever been written off? Has it ever been stolen? It could turn out to be the best phone call you ever made.